report mentions the wave of momentum from the first quarter extending into the second. How much longer does it continue? Because we're not changing some of the underlying motivators, being low interest rates, QE, flood of money in the system. So can we expect the third quarter to remain strong?
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, Karen. We have seen exceptional performance, in the first half of the year. A lot of that, was momentum carry forward from 2020, in the last quarter. As you mentioned, is the liquidity, the low interest rate environment, and this is actually keeping the investors' appetite in going into the IPO market, chasing fairly good returns, especially the traditional IPO versus the SPAC, in comparison. We saw there was actually a big, sort of a rush of IPO completing, in the second quarter end, trying to get that complete before the long week holiday in July in the US. And as we expect, there may be some slowdown probably in the third quarter and towards the end of the year for a number of reasons. The liquidity is still there, but as we know, for example, in the US still remains, the largest IPO market, for companies, seeking to complete IPO. And actually, US is the most favorable IPO market for overseas companies. In the first half of the year, there were 68 companies, overseas companies listed, of them came from China. With the most recent IPOs, completed in the US from Chinese companies, we expect, given there are some uncertainty in the regulatory environment regarding cybersecurity, data protection, use of variable interest entities in some of these IPO structure. So we expect, there may be a slowdown of at least, these Chinese companies going to the US for IPOs. And also we have to note one particular indicator is that in the US market, for all the IPOs listed, there were about 200 plus IPO listed in the first half of the year. Only 25% of these IPO companies are profit making. In other words, there is actually some risk of actually oversupply of IPOs companies, and while the investors' appetite is still there, but there is a risk of oversupply, and one has to remember only 25% of these companies are making profit at the time when they went to IPO.
Paul, comprehensive breakdown there. I'm sure Steve will want to pick up on the profit angle. I want to pick up on the China one, though, because you mentioned some of the hurdles now with increased regulation, particularly around how data is used and stored from these Chinese companies. Regulators are pretty clear that they want this addressed before companies go to market, so there's not another saga like Didi, where it was effectively listed and then the crackdown came just within a matter of hours after that IPO listing. What does this mean, though, if we have a slight hiccup now on the Chinese listings? How long is it going to take to sort out some of these problems?
The most recent, cyberspace administration of commission has just actually reported that they will introduce new rules that would require any companies that has got user data of over 1 million users, they will need to submit an application with the cyberspace administration of commission, and they would get a response within 60 days if they are clear to do an overseas IPO listing application. So the implication of actually that is that I think, as you can see, the Hong Kong Stock Exchange has recently, seen a very strong performance in its own share price. People are expecting that, Hong Kong Stock Exchange could be a beneficiary of this latest actually regulatory requirement, in that companies may be more encouraged to stay within the Asia Pacific Greater China region if they were to choose even an overseas IPO. That said, we have also noted that a lot of these startups actually have got PE and overseas PE and actually VC investors, and they are under more pressure to actually complete their IPOs overseas as well. So I would expect, for companies, Chinese companies to come to the market now, probably they would need to offer a more realistic valuation, or actually probably some discount, in order to really entice the investor. We have seen after Didi, there has only been one Chinese company completing an IPO in the US after the DD IPO at the end of last month. And so there was only one Chinese IPO in the US market this month so far.